Hey. Time for the Out of This World story from rSpace. Would you like fries with that? And also your entire marriage exposed? Today on rSpace, supersize these lies. Cheating wife told me that she had been working late. Her boss's wife told me the truth. The affair cost both of them their jobs and careers. I, 32 male, have been married to my wife, 31 female, for 5 years now. Her name, for the sake of this, will be Marie. She works in a law firm as a paralegal, and I work as a researcher in a scientific field. We're young people, and we're very career-focused at this point in our lives. So we decided that we didn't need to worry about children yet. And we also decided that it was a good idea to make certain sacrifices at this point, if they were going to have a significant effect on our careers. That's why when Marie would tell me that she needed to stay late at work for some project or another, I wouldn't oppose it in any way. We both came from relatively bad backgrounds, so we wanted to make it out for good. I don't think anyone can blame us for that. I've never had a reason to suspect Marie of cheating. Maybe I just wasn't vigilant enough, or maybe she hid it that well. However, I felt like I had the person who was meant to be my soulmate and that I could trust them entirely. Looking back, I realized how much of a mistake that was. There's nothing wrong with trusting people, but I don't think you should ever trust someone as much as I did. My whole life went to crap when I received a call from a number that I didn't have stored. It was one of those late nights when Marie was helping work on a case. When I picked up the phone, the person on the other end said that her name was Isabel. She said my name to confirm that she was speaking to the right person, and I told her that she was. There was a very awkward pause, and I could tell that she was struggling to say whatever it was that she had called for. I had to prompt her before we spoke. She asked me if I'd be able to meet her somewhere to talk, and I told her that wasn't going to be possible because I didn't know who she was or why she was calling me. She told me that it was important and that it had to do with Marie. That part caught my attention immediately. I told her that I could meet up with her, but it would have to be another day, and I'd have to check my calendar. She said that was fine. After I hung up, the anxiety started to tear at me. It was just a little past 8 p.m. and I realized that I was going to end up killing myself with worry if I was forced to wait until later in the week to figure out what it was that she wanted to tell me. So I called her back and let her know that I'd be able to meet that night. We decided to meet at a McDonald's in the city center, which wasn't that far off from either of us. I got there before her and decided to order something to eat. She came about 5 minutes later. The first thing I noticed was that she was a much older lady, maybe as much as 30 years older than me. The only thing was that she looked like she took very good care of herself. I remember wondering what a middle-aged woman would have to say about Marie. When she sat down, she introduced herself with her full name. I recognized her last name as Marie's boss's last name. At that point, I started to have a bad feeling about what was going on. We went through some very basic small talk when I offered her fries, and a bit surprisingly, she had a few. At that point, I just needed to know what was going on, so I prompted her to let me know what was going on. She told me who her husband was, confirming that it was Marie's boss. He asked me where Marie was at the time, and I told her that she was working late and that she had been working late recently. She told me that her husband had been working late recently too. I shrugged off that because I know that already. That was when she dropped the bomb that the two of them were sleeping together. I remember shaking my head at her because my mind rejected the idea that Marie would be cheating on me. That was how little I saw her cheating on me as a possibility. I told her that wasn't possible, but she told me that it was. She said it wasn't the first time that her husband had cheated on her, and the last time. He had promised it would be the absolute last time that he was ever going to step out on their marriage. Clearly, he had lied about that, too. It was hard for me to believe her, and I remember being very tempted to just walk out. However, there was no reason for me to believe that she wasn't who she said she was, and since I could assume that she was Marie's boss's wife, there was little reason to think that she just had it out for Marie for some random reason. Marie's boss's name is Spencer, by the way. When I asked what proof she had, she told me that she had suspected that he had gone back to his old ways of cheating on her, so she had put a tracker on his car. When she said that, I felt really bad for her, because why are you living with someone who has cheated multiple times and makes you feel so doubtful that you have to track his movements? She said that instead of going to work as he claimed, he went to a restaurant and then to a hotel. She thought that the restaurant might have been for a business dinner, but the fact that he went to a hotel afterward and still came home that night didn't sit right with her. She said she noticed that his movements didn't match where he claimed he was going on some other occasions, when he had claimed that he was going to work late. It was after that she chose to get him drunk so he could sleep deeply, and then she went through his phone. She found a few things which concerned her, like his conversations with some escorts. But she noticed that in his conversation with Marie, he discussed work, but he also discussed them meeting up to have sex, and that was what made it worse. She said that even if she hadn't seen the conversations with Marie, she would have confronted him. But since I was on the other end, she wanted to make sure that I knew what was going on. At that point, I had my elbows on the table and my head buried in my hands, because everything that she had told me was way too much for me to take in that single moment. My night had literally been fine about an hour before then. I told her that she had made the right move in letting me know, but I was going to have to do my own findings to figure out whether she was telling the truth. She told me that wouldn't be an issue, but she also had screenshots of their conversations, which she showed me, and if I was to believe that it was truly Marie that he was talking to, then it was clear that she was telling the truth. It seemed like her texting style, though. I thanked her and headed back home. That night, when Marie returned, I really tried to scrutinize her to see if I could see any signs whether she had been cheating that night. I couldn't, which showed how well she was trying to cover her tracks. When she slept, though, I went straight to her phone, because I knew I'd be able to corroborate the messages that I had seen earlier. And yep, it was the exact same text thread as Isabel had shown me. It's one thing to know that your wife has slutty tendencies and to have suspicions that she's cheating on you, but to think that she's an upstanding individual who is faithful and suddenly have that idea flipped on its head? It's a real crappy situation to find yourself in. I didn't even know how I felt about her because I still loved her and my body was trying to find a way to explain it and forgive her, but I knew that wasn't what I was meant to be doing. I realized that there really wasn't a suitable outcome apart from my divorcing her. Even if I wanted to keep going for another month, it is going to have to end up in us getting divorced from one another. I simply can't be with a cheater. It's the kind of thing that I refuse to do because there's no way, as a man, to fully move on from it. You might be sleeping beside her one night and suddenly start vividly imagining her getting plowed by the guy she cheated with 5 years prior. I didn't want to find myself in that spot. I'm going to confront her because I really want to know what her motivation was. Spencer is not what I'd call a handsome man. He's clearly much older than her, and I would have assumed that he wasn't her type. However, from the messages I saw between them, she didn't seem like she was coerced into it. Yes, the power imbalance will be there for sure, but she wasn't a passive participant in their dirty talk and all of that. She was really leaning into it. Anyway, I will let you all know how things go by the point that I've chosen to confront her. The only reason why I won't start processing a divorce yet is in the event that she mentioned that she was coerced into it, and I actually believe her. However, even if she says that, there's no reason why she wouldn't have told me so that we could figure out how to handle it together. She didn't even have the guts to come clean herself. You had to find out from the man's wife, at a dang McDonald's no less. I wouldn't even give her the satisfaction of trying to explain why. There's no reason that makes any of this sense. She just wanted what she wanted and didn't care who got hurt in the process, including you. Update 1. I have confronted Marie about her cheating, and yeah, that went exactly how I expected it would go. It was a whole mess. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Here's exactly what went down. The next night when she claimed that she had to work late, I told her that I needed to talk to her when she got back. She tried to get me to say what it was before she came back, but I told her that I wasn't going to compromise on that. She came back at the time that she usually returned on late nights, and she immediately made for me to ask me what I wanted to talk about. I asked her where she was coming from, and she told me that it was their office. I told her to tell me the truth, and from there, she changed it to a business dinner, and then the office. I told her that I didn't believe her, but she insisted that was where she had been, and she seemed confused that I thought otherwise. I realized that it was possible that this was one of the few nights when she was where she claimed to be. I changed tactics and asked her if that's where she had been on the other nights that she claimed to be working late. I noticed that she paused before replying, and then she said, "Pretty much." It was clear that she knew I knew something, but she had no idea what it was. I told her that I knew that it wasn't true. I let her know that I knew she was with Spencer every one of those nights, but that she wasn't always at the office like she claimed to be, and that she wasn't always busy with work. "What? Are you spying on me? How would you know that?" I had faith in her, but at the end of the day, she was a cheating partner, so I wasn't surprised that she tried to flip the script to make me the husband who was monitoring her. I told her that it didn't matter how I had found out. I let her know that we could talk about that later, but I wanted to know if what I said was true or not. She tried to deny it, but I cut her off and told her that she had no idea how I knew the truth, so it would be a big mistake for her not to tell the truth. She sighed, and that was when she told me that she had been with Spencer outside the office on some days. She phrased it as if they hadn't been effing each other on those days, which annoyed me. I asked her what they'd been up to on those days, and she refused to say anything, so I filled in the gap for her. I told her that they had been having sex with one another and that I had the receipts to prove it. She asked me to show her those receipts, but I wasn't going to hand my phone to her, so I started reading them out, and I saw her face go pale as she realized that I was actually reading her conversations. Then it turned into, "You've been going through my phone?" I just said no and kept reading. Then she said that she got the point. She was starting to have an attitude despite the fact I just caught her, and it was annoying me even more. I asked her why she had done it. She said that she didn't have a choice. He had suggested it one too many times for her liking, and we were too career-focused as a family for her to risk getting fired. She would fall back several steps, and she didn't want that to happen. She also said that she knew that I was going to react like this if she had told me, so she did what needed to be done. I told her that while it was true that she might have felt like she had little choice, her reaction to me confronting her showed me that it was the kind of affair that she was fighting to hide, instead of feeling relieved that I had found out and that we could figure things out together. She had been defensive. Plus, some of the messages in her chats with him didn't seem like the kind of thing that someone who had been coerced into an affair would say. I let her know at that point that someone else had clued me into her affair, and I had only decided to check her phone after I was given enough to believe that she was cheating on me. So I told her not to attempt any of the gaslighting or reversing that she had been trying out. She had an attitude ever since I confronted her, which is so strange to me because how do you try to act nasty when you were the one who was caught cheating? Her attempts to dodge accountability were crazy. I ended up walking out of the room and locked myself in the bedroom. The next day, I went to a divorce lawyer even before I went to work. She works in a law firm, so I knew that I was going to need a really good lawyer, especially if she tried to get her firm to back her up in some way. Anyway, when the divorce papers were ready, I had her served when she was at work, and when she came home that night, she didn't even speak to me. At one point, I told her that she was going to have to leave the house, but she told me that she wasn't going to do that. She said that she had a legal right to the house, and that if I was uncomfortable staying in the same house as her, I could leave instead. I'm still in the same house as her because I absolutely refuse to leave, and since there's no way for me to realistically kick her out, we're just going to have to wait and see who the judge will choose to award the house to. I have spoken to Isabel again. I thanked her for letting me in on what was going on, and I let her know that I was going to divorce my wife. She told me that I was making the right move, and she let me know that she was going to do the exact same thing. She said she was tired of giving him chances and letting herself get heartbroken after each time. Apparently, she had stuck through the previous affairs because she didn't want their children to deal with divorced parents. However, at this point, they were all old enough and she was prioritizing her own happiness. I love that for her. I should be back to let you all know how the divorce plays out once that's done. Update 2. I am a freshly divorced man. My head feels all muddled up because it is so hard to go from being married to being on your own, but there really isn't anything I can do about it. I just need to learn to adapt, and I'm going to try and do my best in that regard so I can get back to focusing on important things. First off, I learned that Isabel was able to successfully divorce her husband, and she came out on top. She got to keep the house as well as a pretty hefty alimony, so I'm happy for her. She deserves it since she was the faithful one in the relationship. She deserves to come out on top. As for me, I can say that I didn't get off too badly in the whole thing. It wasn't what I expected, but somehow I got to keep the house and the whole thing. I really thought the judge was going to award it to her, but thankfully, that wasn't the case. Everything else went the way I expected. I have to pay relatively sensible alimony since I earned a lot more as a researcher than she did as a paralegal. We also split the funds that we had saved up as a couple. At that point, both people involved in the affair ended up losing their marriages, though I'm not sure that Marie was as heartbroken about it as her boss seemed to be. Maybe Marie was just really good at not letting me see. The crazy thing is that Isabel reported the two of them to their workplace before I could. I had planned to, but that woman is smart, and it seems that she was really out for blood this time around. There was an investigation done and both her husband and Marie were let off. When I spoke to Isabel, I told her that I found it interesting that Isabel was let go considering the power imbalance, but she had told me that she let some of her friends in the company, her husband had worked there long enough, know that Isabel could be a risk to other high-ranking employees in the firm, so there wasn't a point in keeping her around to try and seduce people. I was thankful for that because I had a strong feeling that a complaint from me alone might not have yielded the same results. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm glad the way that it ended. The best part is that Marie can't come and blame me for ruining her life. She can blame her affair partner's wife instead. I felt like I was a passive player in this whole thing, but as much as I didn't mind it, I decided to just get my own little bit of revenge in. So I let her whole family know exactly why we had gotten divorced. I was sure she hadn't told them the real story, so I told them and sent them the screenshots so that they'd know it was entirely her fault. I only reacted to her initial action. Her brothers were pissed off at her, since we had all become really good buds. Her dad was also very disappointed. Her mom was disappointed too, but it was clear she was trying to take her daughter's side, which annoyed me. I guess I can see where she got it from. Marie reached out and tried to cause a whole issue with me over telling her parents, but I told her that I was merely setting the record straight. When she tried cursing me out over the phone, I just hung up on her. Overall, I'm done with her. I have to pay alimony, so that's the only thing that will keep me linked to her, but the moment that is done, I'll be happy to be done with her. I just want to focus on my life, without needing to worry about a cheating woman, and in due time, I know that I'll be able to. Marie is straight up toxic on a level that's hard to even put into words. Her "I had no choice" excuse? Please. She made the choice every single time she got with Spencer. She's trying to play this off like she was some victim of circumstance, but you know the truth. She's manipulative, cowardly, and full aware of the destruction she was causing. And honestly, telling her family the truth? Genius move. She spent years hiding her real self, and now everyone sees her exactly as she is. A liar who thought she could cheat her way through life and come out unscathed. That's all on her. You didn't ruin her life. She did that herself. Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you next time.